Welcome back. The creation of the scale set is successful now. Let's go to the resource. So the scale set is now created. You can see that the status is 2 out of 2 succeeded. Now to see the instances, we can go and say instances. And over here, you'd be able to see both the instances. If I click one of these instances, I can go in and I can see the public IP address of one of them. So let's go and copy that and run this. Cool. This is the VM scale 000. If you don't see this up, just wait for a few minutes. It would take typically 4 to 5 minutes before everything is set up. So if this is not working, then wait for a few minutes and then you should see this coming up. And if you go to the second instance, you'd also see that that also is up and running. So I'll copy the public IP address of that and put that in here. Cool. This is VM scale 0001. Now, in addition to the scale set, we also created a load balancer, right? So we wanted to load balance between the VM instances. We don't want to individually invoke these URLs. Where is that load balancer created? Let's go to load balancers. So let's go to load balancers and see if there is a load balancer created. Yep, this is the load balancer which is created. You can see the name of it matches that of the scale set, followed by -lb. And if I go in there, you should have a IP address. That's down here. So let's pick up the IP address from here. And let's go and execute that. So you can go that this specific request is going to 001. So the load balancer is working. To see the round robin thing in action, what I would do is I'll click this. So this is where we can actually launch up a Cloud Shell. We used a Cloud Shell earlier to execute a few commands. We SSH'd into the VM instance and executed a few commands. Let's now do a curl, curl. And what do we want to curl to? The IP address of the load balancer. Oops. I want to do a CURL. I made a mistake, so let's do a CURL and the IP address 52.226.176.90. So that's what we are doing, a curl 0100. So over here you can see that it's round robining. So welcome to in 28 minutes 0001 0000. So that's cool. And let's minimize this. Now I'll go over to the scale set. So let's go to the scale set. Scale set, virtual machine scale sets, and this is a scale set we would want. Let's say I go in to the instances and I would say delete. So I'm manually deleting the instance inside a scale set. Let's see what would happen. Let's do a refresh. You can see that instance 0 is deleting. And now if I send a curl, you should see that every response is coming back only from instance 1. So what we are doing right now is manual scaling. If you go to scaling, manual scale, you can also increase manually the number of instances as well. So right now, let's say I would want to scale it up to 3 instances. I can go in here and say I would want 3 instances and save this. You can see that I'm facing an error because in a region, I can only have 4 VM instances running by the quota, and right now I'm exceeding that, and that's the reason why what's happening is I'm unable to update it to 3 instances. So what I would actually do is go to the virtual machines. So let's go to virtual machines and let's delete the first VM. So let's actually go ahead and delete the my first VM, and let's say yes and say delete. Let's wait for this one to delete. Now if I go to scaling, I can see that the number of instances right now is 1. If I would want, I can increase it back to 2 and I can say save. So you can increase the number of instances. Let's say if you want to further increase it to 5 or 6, you can do that in here as well. Now if I go back to instances and click refresh, I should see that there is a new VM which is created. And if I actually do a curl to the load balancer, within a little while, you'd see that you'd get responses back from that instance as well. Right now, I'm not yet getting responses back from that instance. Cool. I started getting responses back from VM scale set 1 4 instance as well. As you can see in here, scale sets makes it very, very easy to manage multiple VM instances. We saw that creating a scale set was very, very easy. And along with the scale set, we also created a load balancer. And the load balancer is now actually load balancing between those two active instances. If I go to the load balancer, now whenever we talk about a load balancers have typically a front end and a back end. The front end of this load balancer is the IP address to which we are sending the request to. So this is the IP address which we are sending the request to, and that's what is the front end IP configuration. Once a request comes in at this specific IP address, it would be routed to the backends. Where are the backends? The backends are nothing but the scale set. So we have created a scale set with 2 instances. Whatever instances are part of that scale set will be the backend pool. All those instances we would distribute the load to. We have asked the scale set to create instances in multiple availability zones. And you can see that these two are created in 2 different availability zones. In this and the previous steps, we looked at scale set. Scale set simplify the creation and management of multiple VMs. We can add a load balancer, we can enable manual scaling and auto scaling, and we can distribute VM instances across multiple availability zones by using a scale set. I'm sure you're having a wonderful time, and I'll see you in the next step.